إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار أما بعد. So after a significant break in the study of this book of Shaykh al-Fawzan حفظه الله ta'ala, or a compilation of clarifications and answers by Shaykh al-Fawzan, Al-Ajwibat al-Mufida and As'ilat al-Manahij al-Jadida of Shaykh Salih bin Fawzan bin Abdullah al-Fawzan, from the great scholars of our era. A series of questions that were put to him seeking clarification regarding the newly invented and modern day methodologies and manahij and beliefs that have affected the Muslims. So we reached, but we did not complete. We reached question number 19, but we didn't complete it. And the question was related to the issue of praising Ahlul-Bid'ah and praising the person that you are warning against. I.e., is it permissible to praise him even though you are highlighting and exposing his error? Meaning the idea here of those who praise them is that they say we have to be just. There has to be some mawazana, some counterbalancing between warning a person against a person of deviation, but at the same time we should be just with him and mention also alongside our refutation something of his good deeds. So Shaykh al-Fawzan hafidhahullah ta'ala, then he explains throughout his answer that this is something that is impermissible, that this is something that is not allowed. And just to quote some part of his answer that we've already covered, that he mentions that if the one being criticized is from Ahlul-Dalal, that he is from the people of misguidance and from the people of deviation, from those who have destructive ideologies, and they are people of superstitious beliefs and people of doubts, then for such people it is not allowed to mention their good deeds. If he has any good deeds, it is still not allowed to mention them. That is because if we mention his good deeds, the general people will be deceived by the good that you say about him. They will hold good thoughts about this person, this misguided individual, for this innovator, for this person who holds these strange and superstitious beliefs, or for this hizbi, for this person who is partisan to his group or his sect. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He refuted the kuffar in the book of Allah. He refuted the kuffar, the criminals and the hypocrites, but He did not state any of their good deeds. And likewise, the great imams of the Salaf of this ummah, they refuted the Jahmiyyah, the Mu'tazila, those who deny the attributes of Allah, and those who negate from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that which Allah has affirmed for Himself of names and attributes. And so the Salaf used to refute them, and likewise the rest of the people of misguidance. But they did not mention anything of their good deeds, because their good deeds are overcome by their misguidance, or their kufr, or their deviation, or their heresy, or their hypocrisy. So this is the point that he makes, that it is not from the Salafi methodology or from the manhaj of refutation. If you are intending to refute a person of bid'ah and misguidance, then it is not permissible to mention any of their goods. So if you're refuting the Shia, for example, or the Ashā'irah, or the Jahmiyyah, or the Khawarij, or the Ikhwan al-Muflisin, or Jamaat al-Tabligh, then you do not mention any of their good deeds. And of course, the issue here is that there is not a single person who does not have good deeds. So even Ahlul-Bid'ah, when they face the Qibla, or if they give in charity, that's a good deed. So if we were to say, well, mention some of their good deeds, well, of course, even the Jews and Christians have good deeds. You know, a Christian can be charitable. A Jew can be charitable. He can help his neighbor. But you're not going to mention their good deeds because the intent here now is to warn the people from their deviation. So therefore, it is not permissible to mention the good deeds of a person because all you're doing is that you're attracting the people to go towards him. So then he mentioned here, he said it is not correct that when you refute an astray, innovator and deviant, that you mention his good deeds by saying he is a good person and he has good deeds and so on. But he also has some mistakes, so he was mistaken. So it is not permissible to gather between these two when you are refuting a person of bid'ah. And that should be something that is established with us as our methodology and the methodology of the great imams of the Salaf of this ummah. Thereafter, and we'll mention a footnote here, and that is that if we take from, let's take an example of one of the Salaf, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah ta'ala, that his son Abdullah, who is Abdullah bin Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahumullah ta'ala, that he said in his tremendous and famous work in Aqidah known as As-Sunnah, he mentioned سمعت أبي عبد الله. He said that I heard, or سمعت أبي rather, سمعت أبي يقول, that I heard my father saying, من قال لفظي بالقرآن مخلوق هذا كلام سوء ورديء. He said that my father said, or I heard my father saying, that whomsoever says that my recitation of the Quran, it is created, then the one who says this, his speech is evil and vile. And it is the speech of the Jahmiyyah, this deviated sect who rejected all of the names and attributes of Allah. So then he said, I said to him that indeed Hussein al-Karabisi, he says this. He is the one who says that my recitation of the Quran is created. So Imam Ahmad said, he has lied. May Allah destroy him, the khabith. Likewise, Ali ibn Abi Khalid, he said that I said to Imam Ahmad that this old man, and he brought an old man with him to Imam Ahmad, he said, Huwa jari, he is my neighbor. And I warned him against this man. He said, Nahaytuhu an rajulin. I warned him against that man. So I would like that he hears your speech concerning him. And he is Harith al-Qasir, meaning Harith al-Muhasibi. So he's saying that I want you to tell my neighbor, this old man that I've brought who's my neighbor, I want you to tell him about Harith al-Muhasibi. And you, meaning Imam Ahmad, you used to see me. So Ali ibn Abi Khalid, he said that you, Imam Ahmad, used to see me with Harith al-Muhasibi for many years ago. That used to see me with him many years ago, or for many years. And you said to me, La tujalisuhu, don't sit with him and don't speak to him. So I did not speak to him up until today. Up until now, I still haven't spoken to him. However, my neighbor, this old man, he sits with him. So what do you have to say concerning that? So he said that I looked at Imam Ahmad and I saw that his face turned red. I saw that his face turned red and his veins and eyes swelled with anger. And I had never seen him like that before. Then Imam Ahmad, he shook out of it. He came out of that anger. And he said, him, dhak, meaning this Hussein or this Harith al-Muhasibi, he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do with him such and such. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do with him such and such and such and such. For indeed, no one knows him except one who is truly acquainted with him. So stay away from him. So he said it 3 times, stay away from him. Indeed, no one knows his true reality except for the one who is acquainted with him. And then he mentioned the Al-Maghazili and Yaqub, meaning bin Shayba, and such and so, they used to sit with him. They used to sit with Harith al-Muhasibi. And he told them, or that he convinced them with the position of Jahm bin Safwan. So they were destroyed because of him. So they were destroyed, meaning that they left the Sunnah and they left the Aqidah of the Salaf because of him. And of course, the likes of Maghazali and Yaqub bin Shayba, that they were scholars. These were scholars who went to sit with Harith al-Muhasibi, and he convinced them. He talked to them and convinced them with the opinions of Jahm, meaning Jahm bin Safwan, the negator and the denier of the attributes of Allah subhanahu, names and attributes of Allah. So the old man, he was listening to Imam Ahmad, and then he said to him, he said, Ya Aba Abdullah, he said, O father of Abdullah, referring to Imam Ahmad. But this Harith al-Muhasibi, he narrates hadith. And he is a pious man, calm, God-fearing. And he narrates stories. And he narrates heart-softening tales to us. So Imam Ahmad, he became angry. And he said to him that a person is not to be deceived by his humility and by his softness and his soft speech. And then he said to him, and you should not be deceived by the manner in which he lowers his head, for indeed he is an evil man, and no one knows him except for the one who is truly acquainted with this man. Do not talk to him, and he deserves no respect. Anyone who comes along and narrates to you a hadith of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even though he is an innovator, will you sit with him? No, do not sit with him. And there is no respect to be given to him, and nor are we blind to him. So this is collected in Tabaqat al-Hanabila. But the point here is, as you can see, my brothers and sisters, in all of this discussion, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah ta'ala paid no attention to any good that al-Muhasibi would have had. He paid no attention to it, even when he was said to him, but he narrates hadith, and he shows outward humility and submissiveness, and he lowers his head, and he speaks with speech that softens our hearts. Imam Ahmad was not fazed by that, and he was not convinced by that. Rather, he continued. He said, he is a rajulun su'. He is an evil man. He is evil. Don't speak to him. And there is no honor to be, even though he's narrating hadith, no honor for him. And then he mentioned, Imam Ahmad, as you heard, he said, look how many people he led astray. Look who he has led astray. Al-Maghazali, Yaqub bin Shayba, and Fulan and Fulan. Look how many people he's led astray. Anyone who narrates a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, anyone who tells you a story, anyone who lowers his head, anyone who softens your heart, khalas, you're going to follow him, even though he's a mubtadi'. So therefore, my brothers and sisters, it's important that we do not get deceived. We are not deceived by the people, by their outward humility or their eloquence, or even the fact that Fulan and Fulan, he is fluent in his speech and eloquent in his khutbah. He gives a khutbah and subhanallah, look how eloquent he is. Makes the people cry, energizes them, lifts their hearts. So they will go to him. And here's Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, rahimahullah ta'ala. And the same thing that he said about Al-Karabisi, same thing. Imam Ahmad would warn against him. Even though Karabisi was an alim of his age. Alim of his age, greater in knowledge than even Abu Thawr. But that did not prevent Imam Ahmad from warning against him. No warning against Muhasibi. Look, this Al-Muhasibi was a scholar, such that he led astray other scholars with him. And not only was he a scholar, meaning in terms of ilm, he had ilm, but he was also able to soften the hearts of the people with his speech, with raqa'iq, with stories that would soften the hearts. Likewise, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Do we now say that Imam Ahmad was unjust? He could have said something nice about Al-Muhasibi. He could have said something nice about Al-Karabisi. But he didn't. He refuted them and he warned against them. In fact, even when Ya'qub bin Shaybah, who was a great scholar of the time, he went astray when he started speaking to and becoming affected by the likes of Al-Muhasibi and Al-Karabisi. Imam Ahmad abandoned him and warned against him. And when the ruler Al-Mutawakkil wrote a letter and sent a letter to Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal after he was released from prison and after his torture, he asked him about this Ya'qub bin Shaybah. He said that this Ya'qub bin Shaybah is an innovator, mubtadi, bal, khabith. Still he wouldn't say a good word about him. So this is the manhaj of the Salaf in terms of rad of Ahlul-Bid'ah, that we do not mention their good deeds. We do not mention their good deeds. Then Shaykh al-Fawzan, he continued. He said, نَقُولُ لَكَ. He said, and we say to you, ثَنَاؤُكَ عَلَيْهِ أَشَّدْ مِنْ ضَلَالِهِ. That your praise of this person, of this innovator, is more severe than his misguidance. That is because the people, that they will look at your thana, they will look at your praise of him, and they will look and they will trust that. They will look at it and they will trust your praise of that person. And if your praise of this astray innovator circulates, then you are responsible for deceiving the people. And this will open the door to the acceptance of the ideas of the misguided ones. Then he made a point, Shaykh al-Fawzan, which is important. Jiddan important. He said, however, if the one being refuted is from Ahlus-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, then the refutation of the one who is mistaken from Ahlus-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, then the refutation upon him is bi adab. He said, it is with good manners. It is with good manners. He is shown his mistakes that are related to the fiqh issues. In those issues that are open to deduction, to istinbat and ijtihad. They are open to deduction and ijtihad. So we say about this person who erred from Ahlus-Sunnah, we say, so and so erred in this matter. and what is correct is such and such, and here is the proof. May Allah forgive him. He said, this is the way that we refute our brothers and the scholars from Ahlus-Sunnah if they are mistaken. And this was the way of the rebuttals and the rudud and the refutations that would take place between the jurists, between the fuqaha of the four madhabs and other than them. This is how the scholars would refute each other. They would not treat each other like Ahlul-Bid'ah. So this person, meaning the Sunni, Salafi, min Ahli-Sunnati wal Jama'ah, this person is not defamed in his station, in his knowledge, in his station, in his makan, in ilm. He is not defamed if he was from Ahlus-Sunnati wal Jama'ah. And Ahlus-Sunnati wal Jama'ah, they are not ma'asumeen, they are not infallible. They can have mistakes, they can err, have akhta'. The proof can pass them by. Sometimes they may miss the mark in istinbat or in ijtihad, they may miss the mark. So we do not remain silent concerning the mistake, and that is important also. Even the mistake of Ahlus-Sunnah, we're not silent regarding it. But the way that we rectify that mistake is not the way that we would refute Ahlul-Bid'ah. Why? Because they are two different groups of people. Ahlus-Sunnah are those whose usul and qawaid and their marji' and their reference point is the kitab and the sunnah and the sahaba. So therefore, if they have erred in their misunderstanding. Maybe a hadith missed them. Maybe they were making ijtihad and that scholar erred. So therefore, we do not remain silent when the error is there. Rather, we clarify it, whilst making excuses for him. Due to the saying of the Prophet ﷺ, إِذَا حَكَمَ الْحَاكِمْ فَاجْتَهَدَ ثُمَّ أَصَابَ فَلَهُ أَجْرَانِ. So when the judge makes a judgment, meaning when the scholar makes his ruling, فَاجْتَهَدَ, he truly strives to come to the truth, and then he is correct, he is rewarded with 2 rewards. And if he makes ijtihad, فَإِذَا حَكَمَ فَاجْتَهَدَ ثُمَّ أَخْطَأَ, and if he was to make a judgment, and he was to strive to come to reach the truth, to reach the truth, then he makes an error, فَلَهُ أَجْرٌ وَاحِدٌ, then for him there is 1 reward. So for the scholar who is correct, for him are 2 rewards. Why are there 2 rewards? 1 reward for striving and 1 reward for reaching the truth. Why is the other scholar, why does he only get 1 reward? He gets 1 reward for striving, but he does not get the reward for reaching the truth because he didn't reach the truth. Rather, he is overlooked for his mistake. He is forgiven because he wanted the truth, but he's still rewarded 1. Why is he rewarded that 1? Because he strived. فَاجْتَهَدَ. So his reward is for his ijtihad. The scholar who gets it right, his reward is for the ijtihad and for coming to the correct conclusion. So therefore his rewards are 2. And this hadith, in its wording, is reported by Imam al-Bukhari and Muslim. So this is, as Shaykh al-Fawzan mentioned, this is concerning the affairs, the masal al-fiqh. These are concerning the affairs of fiqh. Now, as we mentioned, with regard to Ahlul-Bid'ah, the affair is the opposite. And also, if you're a person who, by way of his actions, others are misguided, and especially if that person is a person with some makan, with some manzila, he has some station amongst the people. Maybe he's a scholar, an alim, someone who's talib ilm that the people look up to. He has a greater responsibility than others. Why? Because the people take him as an example. They take him as an example. So if a person, and you see all the time, even in our times, they say, oh, but Shaykh such and such, we saw him. He said, and the people start following him, whether he's right or whether he's wrong. So therefore, the scholar has a greater responsibility. The talib ilm has a greater responsibility than the amatun nas. That he is not seen doing something that is against the manhaj. Or that his ijtihad, he has to think and think again. and work hard and make sure that the position that he's come to is the best that he can achieve and not be a bad example to others. And there's a tremendous example that we're going to mention, and that is that which has been reported or narrated from Imam al-Dhahabi rahimahullah ta'ala in Tadhkiratul Huffaz and also in his Siyar, A'lam al-Nubala. The Imam al-Dhahabi, he mentions that Abdul-Wāhid al-Bāji in the book Ikhtisar Firaq al-Fuqaha, or sometimes referred to as Firaq al-Ulama. So, Ikhtisar Firaq al-Fuqaha. That Abdul-Wāhid, he mentions a qissa or an event that took place with the Qadi, Al-Qadi Abu Bakr al-Baqillani, al-Ash'ari. He was Ash'ari. He said that Abu Dharr al-Harawi, he informed me, and Abu Dharr al-Harawi was inclined towards the Ash'ari madhab. So Abdul-Wāhid al-Bāji asked him, where have you taken these beliefs from? Where did you take this aqeedah of the Ash'ariyah from? So he said, once I was walking with Abu al-Hasan ad-Darqutni, the muhaddith, the great scholar. I was walking with him and we met Al-Qadi Abu Bakr ibn al-Tayyib al-Baqillani. So ad-Darqutni embraced him. He said, in front of me, I saw Darqutni, rahimahullah, embrace Abu Bakr al-Baqillani. He embraced him and kissed him on his face and on his eyes. And when they parted from al-Baqillani, he said that I said to him, meaning that al-Harawi, he said that I said to him, he said to him, I can't believe, what have you done? What did you just do with him? I can't believe that I would have ever seen you do such a thing. And you are the scholar of this era? So he replied, meaning ad-Darqutni, he said, Abu Bakr al-Baqillani, he is the Imam of the Muslims and a defender of the religion. He is Al-Qadi, Abu Bakr al-Tayyib. So from that moment onwards, I, meaning Abu Dharr al-Harawi, he said, from that moment onwards, I continued to visit Abu Bakr al-Baqillani. Why? Because he saw his sheikh, embrace him, praise him, kiss him on his eyes and his head, and mention these good words about al-Baqillani, who was Ash'ari. So, Abu Dharr al-Harawi, because of that, he said, I myself started visiting him. And then I started to follow his madhab. Imam al-Dhahabi, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, so Abu Dharr al-Harawi took this kalam, meaning ilmul kalam, this speculative theology, the ideas of the Ash'ariyah. He said that he took this and this view from Al-Qadi Abu Bakr ibn Tayyib al-Baqillani, and he spread it amongst the people of Mecca. And then the Maghariba who were present in Mecca, they took it from him and carried it to North Africa, all the way to Morocco and that region, and then into Spain, into Andalus. Yet before that, Imam al-Dhahabi said that the ulama of the Maghrib, they did not engage in ilmul kalam. Rather, they would spend their efforts in seeking precision in the affairs of fiqh and hadith or in Arabic. And they would not engage in this aql-based, this aqlani discussions, this intellect-based argumentation that is the way of the Ashā'irah. And this was the way, Imam al-Dhahabi said, this was the way of Abdul-Wāhid ibn Faradi and Abu Umar al-Talmanki and Makki al-Qisi and Abu Amr al-Dani and Ibn Abdul Barr and the ulama of that region. This is what they used to be upon, up until the ideas, because of who? Abu Dharr al-Harawi spreading the ideas of al-Baqillani, just because he saw his sheikh praise him, embrace him and kiss him. Because of that. And that's a sabab min al-asbab, a reason from the major reasons why this da'wah of Ahlul-Bid'ah carried and spread into that region in those early centuries. So in this story, my brothers and sisters, you see that when Imam ad-Daraqutni behaved in the manner that he behaved with al-Baqillani, and Shaykh Rabi mentions the same thing in his warning against sitting with Ahlul Bid'ah. He mentions that if the scholars can get affected like this, and you heard the story of Yaqub bin Shayba, al-Maghazali and others that Imam Ahmed mentioned, and here we have Abu Dharr al-Harawi and others, that if they could see their sheikh behaving in a certain way, like Daraqutni did with al-Baqillani, how the people watch that and they say, that sheikh says it's okay, this sheikh said it's okay, I saw him. And then they start following that tariqah, and before you know it, they're sitting in the masajid of Ahlul Bid'ah, following Jamaat al-Tabligh or Ikhwan al-Muslimin, or reading the books of Ahlul Bid'ah. And then shaitan takes them down the same avenue that he took many people. And this is Ahlul Ilm, scholars. Imagine with the Amatul Nas. If this is why the early Salaf, like Ibn Sirin, that when someone came to him, said to him, want to say a word, he said, not half a word. Not even half a word. When they came to Tawus, he put his fingers in his ears. Ibn Sirin, when they said, we want to talk to you, recite the book of Allah to you, he said, book of Allah. Either you will leave or we will get up and leave. They would not even listen to them reciting the Quran. And this is the book of Allah. They would not allow Ahlul Bid'ah to recite to them the book of Allah. Why? Because of these true realities that took place. And these took place after Muhammad ibn Sirin, after Al-Hasan al-Basri, after Umar bin Abdul Aziz. These are later scholars from the 4th and 5th century. And that's why Imam Ahmad, in the time of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, rahimahullah ta'ala, he would not tolerate it. Why? Because there's a reason, my brothers and sisters. Because the hearts are weak. As Muhammad ibn Sirin said, they may recite something and twist it, and it may enter my heart. If an alim says that, and we think that we can just click on YouTube and just listen to anything. Oh, he's a nice reciter. Oh, that was a nice lecture. Oh, we spoke about the hellfire and it moved me. Who is he, akhi? I don't know who he is. Could be Ash'ari, could be Ikhwani, could be a Takfiri, could be one of those Khawarij, Ikhwani, Tablighi. And then what's the counter argument they give you? Oh, you're just warn against everybody. That's what you people do. You're just warning. Everything is just tahdhir, rad. Here's the Salaf of this ummah. If the unknown one, you don't take knowledge from him, as Muhammad ibn Sirin said. What about the one who is known for bid'ah? And you arrogantly take knowledge from him, or that you are deceived by him. So that's the story of Imam ad-Daraqutni, and likewise Abu Dharr al-Harawi with Abu Bakr al-Baqillani. So look how the praise of Daraqutni with al-Baqillani, the Ash'ari, that it led in this story. He called him an imam of the Muslims. That was the kalam of Daraqutni. Daraqutni is an imam of the Sunnah. Make no mistake. A scholar of hadith. Yet in this, he erred. So the slip of the scholar is not a proof for the rest of the people to fall into the same mistake. So what do you return back to? You return back to the asl. And the asl is that you do not take from Ahlul-Bid'ah. You do not take from them, you do not sit with them, just like Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he said. So they were deceived. So meaning the one, Abu Dharr al-Harawi, he was deceived because of what he saw from his shaykh. And he adopted the madhab of the Ashā'irah and because of it. And this is the same for anyone who praises and reveres Ahlul-Bid'ah and Ahlul-Ahwa. He will cause large numbers of people to end up following their madhabs, especially if the one who praises them is seen as someone pious and someone who knows, an alim, because an alim is a qudwa and is an example to be followed. So look how the praise of Daraqutni, of Abu Bakr ibn Tayyib al-Baqillani became a reason for the spread of al-Ash'ariyah in the Hijaz, in North Africa, in Morocco, in Spain. So this is a cautionary lesson, my brothers and sisters, that our manhaj does not change. It doesn't matter which area you live in. These usul, they do not alter. It's a lesson. And especially for those who are responsible for teaching knowledge and ilm. Those who are giving the khutb. Those who are delivering lessons. The ulama who are teaching. It is a lesson for them, as Shaykh al-Fawzan and Imam al-Dhahabi and others have mentioned. Going back to the speech of Shaykh al-Fawzan, he said, as for issues, therefore, of the aqeedah, then it is not allowed for us to praise the misguided ones, the opposers of Ahlus-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, from amongst the Mu'tazila, the Jahmiyyah, the Zanadiqa, the Malahida, those who have, that they have deviated to such a degree that they are upon the edges of ridda, of apostasy, or even left the deen altogether from the atheists. And likewise, the people of doubts and deviations of this era. And he said, and they are, and how numerous they are in this age, the people of deviation. Referring to the footnote by Shaykh Jamal al-Harithi, then I'll summarize it, because I think a lot of it we've already covered and we've heard before. So I'll make ikhtisar of it so that you get the meat of what he's saying, inshallah. So he said that if it is said by someone, why do you speak about the Mu'tazila? Meaning, where's the Mu'tazila today? Why do you speak about the Jahmiyyah and the Zanadiqa, the people of heresy, the heretics, and the Ashā'irah, and the Khawarij, and the Murji'ah? You always talk about them and mention them when you speak about the affairs of Aqeedah, yet these sects no longer exist. There is no need to mention them anymore. Why do you keep mentioning them? Which is true. When we study Wasitiyah, when we study Kitab al-Tawheed, when we study Thalath al-Usul, when we study books, Lum'atul I'tiqad, when we are teaching the people, when we are talking about the Asma wa Sifat, we always mention these terms, the names of these sects. So the one who is bringing his argument is saying, why do you keep mentioning those sects? They don't exist today. Where's the Mu'tazila today? Where's Wasil bin Ata today? Where's the Qadariyah today? Where's the Jabariyah today? Where's these sects today? We don't see them today. Where's Jahm bin Safwan, Ja'd ibn Dirham? Where's Abdullah ibn Kullab? Those are people who are dead. Why do you keep mentioning them now? So we say to them, yes, these sects are sects of old, and their founders have passed away. However, their ideas and beliefs still remain till this day. They still remain, and you'll find them, my brothers and sisters, in the various sects and groups. Rather, their followers who have been affected are present among us today, and their beliefs are passed on generation to generation. Then he mentioned, Shaykh Jamal al-Harithi, he mentions the Mu'tazila. He said they are present still. Indeed, all of the firq of the Shia, all of the Shia sects, including the Zaydiyah, are upon the creed, are upon the belief of al-i'tizal. All of them upon the ideas of the Mu'tazila. But that's not only the Shia. You'll find those in the West, from those modernist Muslims, they're upon the same thing. Because the crux and the foundation of the creed of the Mu'tazila is the aql, taqdeem al-aql al-naql, to give precedence to one's own reasoning over the text of the Kitab and the Sunnah. How many of these modernists today who are upon the mimbars and upon their writings and in their websites and in their lectures and in their books talk about the importance of the aql? So, the book of Allah, we have to put it in light of the intellect and modern science, Darwinism, evolution, cosmology, astronomy, the Big Bang. So they talk about the Quran and the Sunnah. So if there is something in the Quran and the Sunnah that does not agree with their reason and their modern pseudoscience, then they reject the Quran, or they make ta'wil or tahrif of the ma'ani of the Quran and the hadith, or they reject the hadith altogether. This hadith cannot be true because modern science has proven it wrong. So these Mu'tazila, they exist. And you see them speaking, and they are given, especially in the lands of the kuffar, that they are given a pedestal to stand upon and to spread their ideas. As for the Ash'ariyah, then the Ash'ariyah exist today. The followers of Abdullah ibn Kullab, who claim that they are followers of Abul Hasan al-Ash'ari, rahimahullah. So they are the largest sect of misguidance that ascribes itself to Sunni Islam today. The largest body of Muslims today who ascribe themselves to the Sunnah are the Ash'aris. And they come under the guise of the four madhabs. So they'll say, we are Maliki, we are Shafi'i, we are Hanafi. The Hanafis will follow a direction closely related to Abul Hasan, or closely related to the Ash'ari madhab, and they are the Maturidiyah, the followers of Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, who died about 6 years after, or somewhere in the region of 6 or 7 years after Abu Hasan al-Ash'ari, rahimahullah. Abu Hasan al-Ash'ari, of course, he repented from his bid'ah. He repented from i'tizal. And then he adopted the ideas of Abdullah ibn Kullab. Then towards the end of his life, in his final work, Al-Ibana an Asul al-Diyana, that it is said, as Shaykh al-Islam said, that something remained with him of some of the ideas of Abdullah ibn Kullab, but he left a lot, and there was only some small matters that still remained with him. But he abandoned the vast majority of the innovations that he was upon. So the Ash'ariyah of today are the followers of Abdullah ibn Kullab, who was present in the time of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal warned against him and warned against his followers. So the Ash'ariyah, they're present today, and they're not just present, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. The figureheads of the Ikhwan, all of Jamaat al-Tabligh are upon the ideas of Abu Hasan al-Ash'ari, or Ibn Kullab, and Abu Mansur al-Maturidi. All of them are upon these ideas in making tahrif, or denying and rejecting and deviating from the names and attributes of Allah, even with regard to the speech of Allah. Their speech is innovated with regard to the kalam of Allah. The Quran, is it the speech of Allah or not the speech of Allah? They will say it's the speech of Allah. But Allah does not speak with words or with letters or with a voice. Rather, it is kalam nafsi. It is speech that is with the self of Allah. And Allah does not speak when He wants or to whom He wants. Rather, it is something that is a hikayah. It is something that is just transmitted into Jibreel. And Jibreel brought it to Muhammad. But Allah did not speak it. That it is not real speech. It is not kalam haqiqi. This is the belief of the Kullabiyah. This is the belief of the modern day Ash'ariyah. With regard to the ulu of Allah, they deny the istiwa of Allah till this day. They don't believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ascended over the throne, even though Allah said it in the Quran. They don't believe in the nuzul of Allah, the descent of Allah in the last third of the night. They say rather it is the mercy of Allah that descends, or the malaika, the angels of Allah that descend. So they reject the highness of Allah, the ulu of Allah, that Allah is above the seven heavens. Look at you people trying to confine Allah, putting Allah in a direction. They are the majority of the people of deviation who ascribe themselves to Sunnah of today. And then the people say, why do you keep talking about the Ashā'irah and the Jahmiyyah and the Mu'tazila? Why? Because the ideas of the Mu'tazila and the Jahmiyyah and the Ashā'irah are present right up until today. As for irja, then irja is also present today. And it is found amongst the Hanafis, those who say we are Ahnaf, we are the Hanafiya, who claim that they are followers of Abu Hanifa, who believe that Iman is tasdeeq, it is belief in the heart alone. And the actions do not enter into the definition of Iman. Or that they will say that it is belief in the heart and speech of the tongue. And they will not say that actions are from the definition of Iman, that they are not from Iman. So this is the belief of the Murjiatul Fuqaha. This is the belief of the Hanafis who have fallen to irja right up until this day. Even though it is the least of the deviations of the Murji'ah, it is nevertheless irja. Al-Lajnatu Da'ima, the committee of major scholars, Shaykh Abdul-Aziz bin Baz, Shaykh al-Fawzan, Mufti Abdul Aziz and others, Abdullah al-Ghudayan, that in one of their fatwa from the year 1421, the saying of the Murji'ah, Allahu A'lam, it is possible, 1421, I've just looked at the date of the fatwa, possible that Shaykh bin Baz had died by then. Abdullah Ghudayan, Shaykh al-Fawzan, Mufti Abdul Aziz, Bakr Abu Zaid, all of them were still upon the Lajna at that time. But Shaykh Abdul Aziz, who was the head of the Lajna, possible, because the date here is 1421, 8th of the 4th. So it's possible that Shaykh bin Baz by then had passed away, rahimahullah. But anyway, the fatwa remains of Lajnatu Da'ima. So they said that the saying of the Murji'ah, who remove actions from the definition of Iman, and they say that Iman is belief of the heart, or that it is belief of the heart and speech of the tongue only. As for actions, then they hold that they are a condition, external, for the perfection of Iman, and that actions are actually not from Iman, meaning that actions are something external that perfect it, but they are not from the definition of Iman. Therefore, whomsoever believes with his heart and speaks with his tongue, then he is a perfect believer according to them, according to the Murji'ah. Even if he abandons the obligations and commits that which is haram, they say that regardless, he is deserving of paradise, even if he never did any good at all. No doubt, they said, this qawl is batil, and it is dalal, it is futile, and it is misguidance, clearly in opposition to the book and the sunnah, and in opposition to the position of Ahlus-Sunnah wal Jama'ah among the Salaf and the later scholars, and it opens a door for the people of evil and corruption. Are they Murji'ah today? Yes, they are Murji'ah today. Are people falling into irja today? Yes, they are falling into irja today. So that's the end of the fatwa. So as for the mulahida, from those who believe that everything is Allah, wahdatul wujud, they believe that the essence is one, that all of existence is one, all of it is Allah. So everything is Allah. So the essence, wahdatul wujud, is one. Then they too are present, and they are the followers of Ibn Arabi at-Ta'i, and they are the extreme, or the ghullat of Sufiya, the extreme Sufis. Everything that they look at, they say, He is Allah, He is Allah, the animal is Allah, the sky is Allah, everything is Allah, the essence is one. And this is, of course, ilhad. This is kufr, akbar, that exits a person from the fold of Islam. So these influences and deviations are still present today, albeit under different titles. So they will give themselves different titles. They will say, we are Gnostics, or we are Sufis, or we are Islamic reformers, they will say. Or they'll say, we are modernists, we are liberal Muslims. So they call themselves liberals. Or they say that we are Muslim philosophers, or we are modern thinkers. But they still, if you look at them, they are still following the same ideas of those deviations of old. Ahlul Kalam of old, the Mutakallimun, or the people of Falsafa, or the philosophers of old. And likewise the ideas of the Mu'tazila, the Jahmiyyah, the Murji'ah, the Khawarij. The Khawarij such as Ikhwan al-Muflisin, the followers of Sayyid Qutb and Hassan al-Banna. What are they except that they are reviving the ideas of the Khawarij? Just like Hizb al-Tahrir, just like Al-Qaeda, FIS, GIA. All of these groups and sects and parties that are reviving the ideas of the Khawarij in their takfir of the Muslim rulers and rebellion against them and marching in the streets against the Muslim rulers and so on. What are they following except that they are following the ideas of the Khawarij? So these sects, they exist till this day. They may not call themselves Mu'tazila. Even the old Mu'tazila never said that we are Mu'tazila. What do they call themselves? Muslims. The Murji'ah never said we are Murji'ah. They just called you Khawarij. The Khawarij never said we are Khawarij. They just called Ahlus-Sunnah Murji'ah. That's what they did. Likewise with the Jahmiyyah called you Mumathila, that you are anthropomorphists. You liken Allah to the creation. They themselves would flee from these titles. These are titles that were given to them by the Imams of Sunnah. So the Qadariyah never said we are Qadariyah. The A'imma called them Qadariyah, the Imams and the scholars of the Salaf. The Jabriyah never said we are Jabriyah. The scholars called them Jabriyah. The Murji'ah likewise, the titles are given to them. They are the odd exception like the Shia. They will say we are Shiat Ali. We are the party of Ali or the faction of Ali. So Ahlus-Sunnah called them Rafida, and they hate that term. So they are Rafida. Barakallahu feekum. So upon that, inshallah, let's finish today. And we'll move on, bi-idhnillah, next week to the next portion. Wa jazakumullahu khairan. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een.